we often hear that China is the imperialist country, right? And before we get into the Taiwan update, I want to talk about what happened in the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, FOCAC, which was underway this week. And there were several very important announcements that give us an idea of which country is practicing imperialism and which isn't. All right. You have the United States stealing right out from under Afghanistan, literally plundering its resources. And then you have China doing something differently. So, you would think that China, if it were an imperialist country, would have every interest in just plundering the resources of the African continent, right? That Africa is maybe the most resource rich region. I mean, look, a lot of the global south, especially in Asia and Africa, are incredibly wealthy in terms of resources. So, natural resources. So, it's hard to compare. But we know that Africa has just an incredible amount of natural resources that can be used for industrialization and for production. And that's why the United States and the West continue to plunder it and keep Africa from being able to develop its own economies. But China Daily did a summary of the FOCAC conference. I don't necessarily have to go through word by word, but close ties are reaffirmed, consensus on key issues reached, and Foreign Minister Wang Yi gave a press conference on this. And so it says China and Africa have reaffirmed their commitment to building community with a shared future in the new era to enhance fruitful cooperation and add fresh impetus to global development and stability. It was a coordinators meeting on the implementation of the follow-up on actions of the 8th Ministerial Conference of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation held via video link. So this is a follow-up. This meeting happened earlier this year. So some of the things that were talked about in terms of multilateral cooperation, synergizing the Belt and Road Initiative and Global Development Initiative with the African Union's Agenda 2063. And here's the big thing, though. So Wang Yi, who's a foreign minister of China, he said China is going to waive 23 interest-free loans for 17 African countries that had matured by the end of 2021, and over $3 billion has been delivered out of $10 billion in credit facilities that China pledged to African financial institutions, and nearly $2.5 billion loans were channeled to Africa's priority programs, he said, adding that China's import of African goods within 7 months reached $70.6 billion, and Chinese companies had invested $2.17 billion in Africa. To help Africa fight COVID-19, China has provided 889 million doses of vaccines to 27 African countries. So those numbers alone should give pause to anyone who says China is behaving like an imperialist country in Africa. Imperialist countries don't give money to African financial institutions. When have you heard of France, the UK, the United States putting money into African financial institutions? We know that 14 African states, West African states, still have their currencies being dominated by France, right? France literally controls from the so-called mother country, the colonial mother country, still controls the currencies of 14 African states. I've never heard of the reverse being true. So China is literally giving money to African financial institutions and channeling money into real investment. China itself has invested $2.17 billion, but this is big. This is big because what it means to import goods, all right? And this is just a 101 for those who need to understand economics and imperialism, is that generally what imperialism likes to do, what Western imperialism has done over the course of centuries, but especially in the post World War II era, is it's used international finance to ensure that African countries and poor, formerly colonized countries can't actually develop the industrial capacity to become a country that can export out goods that can then lead to the ability to make up for whatever you're unable to produce, right? So it creates huge imbalances in the economy. what the United States and the West has loved is for multinational corporations to get privilege through their debt arrangements. And then those multinational corporations essentially say African countries can produce X, Y, and Z and nothing else, usually one industry, usually one, if it's agriculture, one crop, right? Palm oil crops, right? The palm trees, like that kind of thing. Um, Whatever it is, right? There's no diversity, there's no ability for African countries to meet the needs of people because this kind of mode of production is neocolonial. It only serves the interests of the foreign power, the Western imperialist power. Now, now it's not common for then the imperialist countries to say, okay, we're just going to import we're going to import those raw materials that you're producing for these. No, that's not how it works, right? It's not goods, right? It's not there's no the manufacturing capacity is very low. So China is not only investing in African countries' ability to create a manufacturing base, which then it can use to develop the countries to have a higher standard of living, but it's also importing the goods that result from this, meaning that it's win-win because China can import goods that it needs and African countries can develop economies that are mature enough to develop things like a working class, to develop the capacity to have certain kinds of infrastructure, to have human needs met, and to build roads, that kind of thing. Usually we don't hear imperialist countries saying, yeah, we've plundered your resources. We're making it now in other places. We're making the products that these resources are going to be used in other places around the world, but we're going to import your goods. Doesn't really happen like that. That's a part of this imbalance that the US and Western imperialists like to have with their neocolonial with their neocolonial arrangements, right? They like that. They like African countries to be suffering from this. So, I mean, who's the real imperialist, right? Who's the real imperialist? Is it China doing this kind of business in Africa? Or is it the United States and the West, which is literally stealing from Afghanistan and has done nothing like what China is doing, which is putting investment, money, resources into African institutions around the continent? That's fundamentally different, in my opinion, than literally stripping African countries of their ability to manage their own currencies, like France has. So there's also the fact that the United States is militarizing the African continent and China is not militarizing the African continent. Okay? There was just news that came out a couple days ago, August 17th, that the United States is killing Somalians, is killing Somali people. The U.S. airstrike killed 13 militants. They always say militants. So drone strikes are happening, right? These were supposedly reduced and nearly ended by the Biden administration, but they haven't ended. And so U.S. airstrike killed an estimated 13 al-Shabaab militants in Somalia on Sunday, according to a U.S. Africa Command news release Wednesday. The airstrike is a seventh such attack against the Islamic militant group confirmed by AFRICOM in 2022. So there's been 7 of these. All but one of this year's strikes have been launched since May, when President Biden authorized the military to deploy hundreds of special operation forces to Somalia. So there's been a market escalation. I don't know if you remember, but drone strikes had actually tamped down since the Trump administration as Biden has has attempted to shift priorities. But since restarting something that Trump ended, which was special operations forces in Somalia, these attacks have gone up 6 since May. Biden's order reversed Donald Trump's late presidential withdrawal of counterinsurgency forces. The United States launched Sunday's airstrike in coordination with the federal government of Somalia, the fragile central government that is at war with al-Shabaab. The targets were militants who were actively attacking Somali National Army forces near the village of Tidan, nearly 200 miles north of Mogadishu, according to the news release. Sunday's attacks brings the number of al-Shabaab fighters killed in U.S. airstrikes this year to an estimated 27. It comes just days after an airstrike on August 9th left a presumed 4 al-Shabaab fighters dead. Presumed. So there's a lot of presumption here. I mean, when it comes to the way the United States treats Somalia, just like any other country, it's waging the so-called war on terror. The line between militants and civilians is thin. But AFRICOM is reporting no civilian deaths resulting from airstrikes this year, including Sunday's attack. But in 2020, human rights groups accused AFRICOM of not reporting civilian deaths from its airstrikes. So they don't report it. This is gangsterism. This is imperialist gangsterism. China doesn't do this. You can't find one shred of evidence that China has used drone strikes on African countries or drone strikes on any country for that matter, that China has done any kind of action like this. Nothing like what's happened with Afghanistan, nothing like what's happening on the African continent. I mean, there's no comparison. And so people who want to say, oh, well, China's bad too, China's just as bad, is not looking at the facts of the situation. To me, it is of the utmost insult to the intelligence of the human race, to the intelligence of oppressed people, to the intelligence of the movement that we need and the people within it, to claim that something that hasn't been proven, like all the claims about Xinjiang, to claim that China is doing things that have not even been documented once, or if they have been documented at all, it is not reliable, and it's just, again, a bunch of claims versus what's actually happening in the world today. One of the things that empire does, that imperialism does, is it creates a fantasy world. It creates such a stark level of alienation that people literally begin seeing the world through the eyes of fantasy, of myth making, of mythology, right? American exceptionalism is the most dastardly and dangerous form of this mythology because it makes that mythology feel real. It makes this idea become real, right? And when ideology becomes reality, it means that we are operating on a metaphysical, idealistic plane that moves people in directions at the behest of certain class interests. In this case, the military industrial complex, Wall Street, the overall capitalist ruling class, so heavily invested and indebted to a war machine that it needs to keep its predominance, to keep its dominance over the planet.